is Johnny Stanton the fourth, the former fullback of the Cleveland Browns, who is launched it already, Athletics Check, which is a new, I'm going to call it an internet series. It's on TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, wherever you find Dungeons and Dragons and football mixed together, you'll find Johnny Stanton the fourth talking about it. And let's bring him in. The former fullback of the Cleveland Browns, the host of Athletics Check, it is Johnny Stanton the fourth. What's up, Johnny?
We can't hear Johnny, unfortunately.
See if his microphone is muted.
We had audio 1 second ago.
We did have audio. Okay. Johnny, we're working on it.
We'll get him back in. I love that Johnny is a self-proclaimed nerd. We need more.
I know.
I know some people hate analytics, but I like nerds.
I don't consider analytics nerds. Dungeons and Dragons, yes. And I know that's right up his alley.
You never played Dungeons and Dragons?
Not once.
Any of you guys?
Not once.
G. Bush, I feel like you might have played.
I knew G. Bush had. But I bet he's not into it still.
We should, you know what we're going to do? We're going to ask Johnny Stanton
right.
who on this panel he thinks has played Dungeons and Dragons.
We just gave it away. If he can hear us.
Could he hear us?
We can't hear him. He could probably hear us.
I'm testing right now.
Oh, there we go. We got
him. We got audio, and we have Johnny Stanton.
Johnny.
There he is.
Did you hear our discussion just now?
I did not. I missed it.
Okay. See if you can guess, just by looking at us. There's two of us on the panel that have played Dungeons and Dragons, and there's two of us that have never played Dungeons and Dragons. You got to guess who has and who hasn't. I'll give everybody's name in case you don't know.
I'm Jay. You can start with me, and then you can go to G, Jason, and Bull.
There you go.
Okay. Well, my whole thing is that there is no stereotypical Dungeons and Dragons player. My whole ethos is the fact that everybody's multifaceted. Everybody has different passions. Like every athlete that you see on the field has something that is so important to them outside of football, and that's my whole that's my whole shtick. You know.
Okay.
I would say there's nobody who looks like a D&D player. I will say, Steve, I'm going to say that you mentioned to me one time, I think that your daughter played. Is that correct?
Jason?
Sorry, I apologize.
None of us have a daughter. None of us have a daughter. No, I have a daughter, but she doesn't play.
I'm thinking of Steve Becker.
Steve Becker, man.
I'm thinking of Steve. I apologize.
Don't worry about it.
He's our boss. Jay, G, Jason, Bull.
Jay, I'm going to say that you have not played. G, I'm going to say that you have. Number third name.
Jason,
I'm going to say that you have, and Bull, I'm going to say that you have not.
Went 2 for 4.
2 for 4. That's not bad.
You were perfect.
I have played. You were right about G. I have played. Okay. I haven't played him. I played when I was like 10.
It was just coming to a thing when we were young.
Well, I'm a little older than you.
I've never played.
Yeah, I haven't either.
But a lot of my friends, I played a little when I was a kid, but I didn't play for a long time. But G, you played a lot, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, I used to play back in the day, but like I didn't have my own dice. Like you got to have, like you cool if you got your own dice.
Is that like showing up to the bowling lane with your own ball?
Like you don't have no, like you know what I'm saying? Like you like you got to, and somebody would let me borrow the dice, and I'm like, okay, cool, man. And sometimes on D&D, like it's crazy because these games be lasting weeks. So there used to be like a weekly game, and it was like on a Tuesday.
Mind. At the end of my day, I bulk erase and I start over tomorrow.
And then it's kind of weird because like you really is making it up. They be like, yeah, I got these spells.
It was fun. I liked playing it when I was a kid. Did you, Johnny? Do you don't still live in the Cleveland area, do you?
I don't. I'm in California.
Yeah,
I was going to say.
Look at him. Look at the hair. He's got the California look.
Yeah, it's true. My son is actually. I've talked about
the background.
I should have known that. Well, it could have been
Lakewood.
It could have been Florida. But my son is going to be in a show in December. It was written by the person that's putting on the show. It's called Ye Old Going Medieval. Anyway, the basis of the show, and my son is one of the 3 main characters in the show. There are 3 D&D players, and so the whole thing's been. So I thought you would appreciate that and maybe go if you were living in the area. But we're not going to ask you to fly in from California. But what is it that has captured you about this game? Like, was this your, as a kid, were you obsessed with it? Or did you become more into it as an adult?
No, this was something I got into in college. I wasn't somebody who's super into fantasy. You know, I saw the Lord of the Rings movies when I was growing up, but I didn't, go reach out and, read the books. I wasn't trying to get every piece of fantasy information I had. I actually moved in from like kind of the comic book world, and knew some friends in the comic books who were playing, and I'm like, you know what? I think this is something that I could be, have fun with. And then it kind of just took over from there. It became a creative outlet for me that became really important, and it became a really great way for me to be able to connect with people. Before I was in Cleveland, I'm pretty sure Myles Garrett and Wyatt Teller had no idea what D&D was outside of Stranger Things. And now it was a great way for me to be able to connect with them in a really intentional way, where we, every month or so we'd get together over at Myles' house and play in a game. And, we were able to raise $18,000 last year in playing a game live in Cleveland.
Awesome.
So it was a really cool opportunity for me, and it still is, to be able to connect with people, to be able to grow, and to be able to show that, exactly what Athletics Check is. It's that people have multiple sides to them, and being able to know about those things, being able to connect over those passions is really important to me.
Are you excited, by the way? Sorry to cut you off. You mentioned Stranger Things, so I just had to follow up. Are you excited about the final season?
Absolutely. Yeah, the last season was really fun.
It was. It was awesome.
So we got to get a definition of what nerd is. I feel like the definition of nerd has been cast upon a lot of people, and it's a lot of posers in the community now. Just because you watch the Marvel movies does not mean you are nerd worthy. You have to, if you watch Dragon Ball, you have to learn about the mangas, not just regular Dragon Ball Super. What is your definition as a nerd, as you're explaining it to, and how do you get in this cult?
So I'll push back against it just a little bit, because I don't want, with Athletics Check, I'm trying to break down the walls that are separating people from, separating people in that jock nerd binary. There is no such thing. You don't need to choose between those two. I'm the perfect example of that. So I think being nerdy about something is just shorthand for being passionate about something. You can be passionate about Marvel movies. You can be passionate about D&D. You can be passionate about aerospace technology. You can be passionate about math. It's something that is just outside of, it's not even outside of pop culture. Marvel movies is pop culture now. Yeah. So it's anything that's outside of, I think, your occupation that is an intense hobby for you. And I think hobby has a negative connotation in itself. I think it's something that you like to be able to put your energy towards. And, what I like to put my energy towards is spending time 4 hours a week or so with friends around a table doing silly voices and rolling dice.
So, Johnny, here's why I think you're the perfect poster child for this. It sounds like your mission is to bring the jocks and the nerds and really just everybody together and break down the walls. You might be the perfect person for that, because, correct me if I'm wrong, you were at one time a quarterback, a wide receiver, a tight end, and a fullback. So you've really been doing that inside locker rooms your entire life.
No, it's true. I've my whole thing with football was to be adaptable, was to be versatile, to be somebody who could play on the field wherever I could. I don't remember playing, ever lining up. Well, I've lined up a wide receiver. I think pretty much anybody on the field could. But I've had quarterback, fullback. I had a couple snaps at running back in Cleveland. I definitely had some snaps at tight end in Cleveland. In college, I played some linebacker. I'm learning how to long snap right now to try to make my way back in the NFL.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, being versatile is definitely the name of the game for people who can't quite, are trying to make it back on a roster.
All right, well, now I got to go to the long snapping route.
Yeah, Charlie's replacement?
Yeah, how long have you been doing this, working on this, and where are you at with it?
I've been working really hard since January, pretty much full time. I'm still definitely working at fullback, and I'm staying strong, I'm staying in shape, but long snapping is a skill that I want to be able to use to extend my football career. I've had a lot of combines, I've spoken with scouts, and they want to see some game film out of me, so I'm hoping to be able to make it into a spring league. If not, back with the team at fullback this year. So, as far as Charlie's job, I'm pretty sure is very, very secure.
He can't do it forever.
He can't do it forever, but I'm hoping that I can have a career like Charlie.
Yeah, he's the model. He really is.
What's the key to that? What's the hardest part?
It's interesting when you're looking at a snapper. You just expect him to, pinpoint accuracy, get it back, right on the belt line of the punter, and then you don't really look at the guy when he's blocking. He's kind of in charge. He has to make the most decisions when it comes to blocking. The personal protector tells him which way to go, but you have to be able to decide, okay, with crossers, with picks, who's the guy that I'm supposed to take care of. And on top of that, a lot of people will say, we're lucky if the long snapper gets down there and in on the tackle. But that's something that I want to use as an advantage of mine, is that I can run down there with the linebackers, with the tight ends, all those guys who are put on punt protection, and try to go make a tackle on the returner.
Johnny, is there a level of, I don't know if fear is the right word, or maybe anxiety when you're the long snapper that you got to get over because you can't really look at the guy that's about to hit you on the defense? Is that a mental hurdle to overcome when playing that position?
Yeah, it definitely is. Everybody who's outside of me who's doing it has been doing it for years, and has a number of games under their belt. It's something that I'm trying to get used to. But I having not done it in a game yet, but been able to do it in practice in Cleveland. I was one of their emergency long snappers. Getting reps in, with, I remember Andy Janovich, who was the fullback with me those years, lining up over me on nose guard, and he would just have this heavy breathing. And I don't know if he was just doing it to mess with me, or if he was just because he was tired from special teams period. But he would, it's definitely nerve wracking when you're like, okay, I can't even look at you, and you're about to, throw your whole body weight into me as fast as you can. So yeah, there's a ton you have to do. You have to be able to snap perfectly, then you have to block perfectly, and then you have to be able to get off that block and set up, a tackle down 40, 50 yards down the field. So there's a lot to do with it, and I think a lot of it doesn't end up getting appreciated by the common viewer.
Man, you talk about the offensive linemen, they're overlooked and they're taken for granted, and their name is only used in vain because you never stand up and say, what an unbelievable pull or whatever. But the first time they miss a block or there's a holding penalty, but I imagine for long snappers, it's even worse.
Way worse.
For 99.99% of the plays, you're just invisible, and everybody expects you to be perfect. The one time you sail one high or it hits the ground, then all of a sudden, every eye in the building is on you.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. You want it to be a thankless job. You want to be somebody who just blends into the rest of the team, just another man on the 53-man roster who just does their job. Because unless you're making a tackle, you're not going to be, have a perfect game. You're not going to show up on the Pro Football Focus, stat line, graded sheet at the end of the game. So yeah, it's something that you're just hoping to. For me, it's just an excuse to be able to continue playing football. That's all I want to do.
Size-wise, where do you fit in? I imagine that you would be right in the wheelhouse, or maybe on the smaller end. Where are you on the size scale for long snappers?
I'm probably a little bit heavier. I've been able to put on all that muscle for fullback and tight end, so that I'm a little bit heavier and stronger than most long snappers. I definitely, with the guys that I've worked out with or competed against in combines, I can run with the best of them, if not a little bit faster. So the hardest part about long snapping is the long snapping part. Everything else, otherwise everybody would do it.
Johnny, what was the guy was your teammate? You were in the running back room with him when you saw Nick Chubb's injury. I don't know if you were watching the game live at the time. What was your reaction?
I did end up missing the play itself, but I was watching the game. I saw the reactions in the Pittsburgh crowd. I was tweeting during that. I remember feeling like obviously horrible for Nick. The next thing I thought about was how respectable the Pittsburgh crowd was being in cheering for him as he went off the field. I think Nick is one of the most well-respected players around the league. I don't think anybody could ever have a bad word to say about him. He is a friend of mine. He is somebody who I actually messaged him the day before that game, wishing him luck. And it hurts to see him go down like that. What I'm so glad about is that it doesn't seem as bad as everybody made it out to be, or as everybody thought it was going to be. So we can continue to hope and pray that he gets back as soon as possible. I want him to just make sure that he's back at 100%, but it's something that he's been through before and something that he knows how to get through.
If we would have told you after that 2020 season when Baker played very well the second half of the year, win a playoff game against Pittsburgh, that since then Baker would have gone to Carolina, to the Rams, to Tampa, and that the Browns would have traded for Deshaun Watson, how shocked would you have been 3 years ago if that had happened, if we told you that?
I mean, very shocked. I know that I could have done a whole lot more to be able to secure my spot on the team, but I do think that the slight offense change when Deshaun came in is a big reason why there's not a fullback in Cleveland anymore. So yeah, I loved having Baker there. He was a great guy in the locker room. He was fun to be able to be around. I root for him in Tampa. I root for all the guys that I played with, and that includes everybody who's still there in Cleveland.